Hi guys, this video is for you if you are trying to heal your feet, your posture, your ankles, your knees. This is going to show you some very easily accessible stretches and exercises that you can do to really wake up the healthy flow and muscular energy in your legs. So if you are someone who has fallen arches, your knees sort of knock in together. There's like a little bit of an imbalance where you tend to collapse inward. If you have bunions on your feet, on your toes, um, this is going to help you to learn how to strengthen, stretch, use your whole foot as a base. Um, so also this is really good if you are someone who has a lot of low back pain, because often our low back pain happens because our hips and pelvis are out of alignment, which is all connected to how we stand and to the strength of our legs, our feet, our ankles. Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to start with something which is just a basic toe stretch. Okay, so the feet are very, very complex. I'll get into that more in a second. Find yourself just a comfortable seat. You can have one leg out. You can sit up on a pillow or blanket, whatever works for you. You could do this in a chair, sitting in a chair. What you're going to do is weave your fingers in between your toes. Okay, I know it sounds a little strange, but I'm going to show you. So you're going to take finger in between toe, in between toe, in between toe. It's like you're doing this, but hand to foot. Okay, and you may notice, even just attempting to do this, how tightly, constricted and contracted your toes are, that they don't want to spread open in this way. That's a good sign that you need this, okay? That the muscles aren't really functioning fully. They're not taking up their proper amount of space. They're not accessing what they need to support you fully on your feet. So get your fingers in there, okay? Once you're in there, you can kind of start to spread your fingers apart from each other. That will actually spread your toes apart. So this may be uncomfortable. This may feel intense for you. You don't want to be in pain, but do what's appropriate for your body. A little intensity is okay. It means that your body is pushing against its edge of its comfort zone. And its comfort zone is keeping you with the imbalances you currently have. Pushing beyond the edge is helping your body become aware that it can do something different. Okay. Once you've got the fingers in there, you might want to kind of get in a little deeper, right? The longer you stay in any yoga pose, the more your body adapts to it and relaxes into it, hopefully. So you can actually go a little bit deeper. So make sure you're in there nice and good. And then you can use your thumbs to just kind of massage. Okay, so you can, I'm not using this one because I injured this thumb, so but you can use both hands to really get in there in need. You can also use knuckles, so you can just give yourself a massage in the foot. Good, good, good. Just opening up all the muscles. So how complex are the feet? The feet are really complex. You have 26 bones in each foot. That's a lot of bones. A lot of them are very small, but 26 bones and 37 intrinsic muscles in the feet. So tiny little muscles all connecting to each other, connecting to the bones to try to, your feet take all the pressure and the weight of your whole body. Think about how amazing that is. So the structures are really complex. But what happens often with age or just lack of use is we get tighter and tighter and start to lose function, which is why as people age, they often have more falls, which can really be dangerous and they can become brittle and break bones. We want to ward that off preventatively by keeping our feet open, healthy. Yep. Okay, great. You can take a flat palm. You can just give a little wake up, wake up. Just kind of bringing energy, blood flow, right? We're trying to engage the foot in a new way. Okay, good. Now you're just going to point and flex a few times. So this is now working through the ankle joint. You're waking up energy in the calf muscle, and you can circle around a few times each direction. Good. Awesome. Okay, let's do the other side. So same thing, you're going to get those fingers all the way in there as the best you can. And you may notice that one side is a lot easier or harder than the other. That is pretty, common, that the human body is not always as symmetric, especially if you're more dominant right-handed or left-handed, or you're doing activities, sports, the way you stand, just from patterning, you're overusing and underusing one side or the other. So it may feel different. Once you get your fingers in there, again, you want to try to spread. Yeah. So I'll just say while we're doing this that I had a lot of problems with my feet. I had a lot of pigeon toe as a child, was forced into corrective shoes for a while to try to fix that. And then even as a young adult, when I first started yoga, a very big imbalance from outer hip to inner thighs. And I did start developing bunions in my 20s on my toes. And then I went to an amazing class, yoga class with T.S. Little. He's out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Good. Once you're here, you're going to use either your knuckles or your thumbs to dig in there and just give yourself some massage. And the workshop I took with him was amazing. And this is where, from him, that I originally learned this toe weaving practice. But practicing opening up my feet, strengthening my inner and outer leg muscles, my calves, my ankles, healed my feet completely and reversed the bunion growth that was starting. So my big toe was really starting to create that extra mass to create some more stability for myself. Your body is amazing. Again, naturally, it's like, oh, you're not so stable. Let's create more mass. That's kind of what the bunion is doing. And modifying the structure to the weakness. But once I corrected the weakness, the structure didn't need to do that. And actually my feet are a little wider. If you do this practice, your feet may become a little wider, which is healthier. You're giving yourself naturally more space and grounding. Okay. And you can do a little this. And again, point and flex and circle and circle. Okay, great. Amazing. The next thing I want to show you, and you may want a block for this, but I'll show you both ways with variations. Okay, so now you're going to do a toe stretch. All right, and from the side, what it looks like is I'm just sitting on my toes. Now, if your feet and toes are very constricted and they're not used to stretching in this way, you may have to help yourself along. I've seen a lot of people that their pinky toe, they have no access to their pinky toe, and it just kind of like gets crushed under the other toes. So you want to actually look at your toes and make sure that even your pinky toe is separated and that the base of the toe is on the ground. So it's not hanging and floating in midair. Show you what that looks like from the front. Yep. Ah, good. Or from this side. Now, if that is too intense for you, a couple of options, right? If the base of your foot, so I have a client who's been struggling with plantar fasciitis. That's like contraction in the muscle under here, very, very, very painful. And you can massage and you get in there to open up the feet, but this one is one of the best ways to open up the feet in this toe balance. So you could use blocks to support you here. Okay. Another option is you can create like a stack so that you're actually doing the same pose, but with less stress on the knees and less of your weight is being supported just in the toes. So you're modifying to take out. Okay. But you can see that I'm really stretching, really stretching. And then once you're in here, you might feel the intensity of it and you can just stay, stay for build up, but maybe 20 seconds is enough for you here, maybe a minute. If you're really comfortable, you can kind of hang out a little longer. Okay, but we're just trying to stretch the feet, opening and waking up those muscles. All right. Let's get into some standing practice to help you understand where your legs are in space, what you're doing, and how to wake up and strengthen. Okay, let's see. Got a little adjustment here. Okay. So you're going to see my lower body more than you're going to see my upper body for this, and that is perfect. That's what you need to be doing. Okay, so I want you to kind of just stand with your knees underneath your hips. Okay, so you want to be not out wide where your feet are wider than your hips. You want your feet generally lined up, hip points to knees, to the middle of the ankle, to the middle of the foot. Now, naturally, based on your tendencies and your patterns, you may notice that when you stand a little bit like this. You may notice that you stand a little bit like this. You may notice that maybe your feet, right? There's like this kind of natural preset way that your body is patterned and comfortable. And that's very indicative of where you're strong and where you're weak, right? If you naturally stand with your inner knees kind of knocking in and your arch is completely flat, that's showing you that maybe these muscles, these outer abductor muscles, are sort of kind of elongated and weak, and your inner muscles are a little bit tighter and stronger, and they're kind of pulling you in this way. If you stand this way, it might be the opposite. You might have really great for all of those of you who like do all your booty glute work. You may be very strong and tight in your butt, and that might pull your knees out, right? And this is very tight, and this is a little looser. Either way, it's going to cause an imbalance. So what we're trying to do is find neutral. So here's what I'd like you to do. Again, lines up, hips to knees to feet, and then just spread your toes. So you're not lifting the whole foot off the ground. You're keeping the ball mounds of the foot on the ground, but you're trying to lift and spread the toes. And this should be easier now that we've stretched the toes first. And just see, you can also stretch your fingers. For some reason, the more you stretch your fingers, your toes sort of fall in line and stretch as well. Great. And then you're going to place your toes back down and just take a look at them and notice the space you've created. All right, great. Now, I want you to put all your weight on your big toe and inner ankle and just see what that does and how that feels. Notice that the more you collapse inward, your inner thighs, your knees collapse. Notice what it does to your spine. You're going to notice that from standing straight to collapsing the inner knees, you get this arch. The belly might try to protrude, the ribs protrude, and your low back kind of gets compressed, right? Okay. Now I want you to set up, just kind of reset yourself even. Good. And now I want you to do the opposite. Kind of, you could even lift up the big toes, like lose all connection to the earth with the big toes and just feel the outer edges of the feet. And notice what that does. Notice it kind of lengthens the belly. It sort of tucks your tailbone underneath you, right? And you're kind of tightening up your butt. Yep, good. What I want you to try to do now is find both engaged. So you could start on the outer blades, but then slowly press the big toe down as well, but without collapsing. So you're keeping the outer and the inner engaged, and just stand up as tall as you can and imagine that your pelvis, which is a bowl, instead of tilting forward and pouring out or tilting backwards and pouring out, the pelvis is upright. The tailbone is straight down, lengthened towards the ground. And you might look at your feet and see, oh, wow, there's like veins popping in my feet. They shouldn't be turning blue. You shouldn't be contracted, but there should be a muscular engagement where you feel like, wow, I'm really pressing down from the big toe across to the pinky toe. Feel like there's a little bit of an arch almost, like you're really glued down to the ground. Good. And then feel like through your heel, you're also glued down. So almost like it forms a triangle, and all edges of the triangle, pinky toe, big toe, and heel are all connected. And the tailbone lengthens, the belly strong. Amazing. Okay. You're going to take a block, and we're going to do a similar exercise, but using the block to help us. Okay. So what I want you to do is take the block If you don't have a block, if you have like an exercise ball, maybe not too heavily weighted because that would be hard to hold, but even like an unweighted ball, you want to find something that you can hold between your inner thighs. And I want you to squeeze the block with your inner thighs, like all your might, like you're crushing a walnut with your inner thighs, like squeeze, 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 squeeze. This is the energy of, notice how as you squeeze in, you're not collapsing all the weight into your toes. You're still grounded in the outer blade of the foot. That's the feeling of engaging, where both the outer edge is holding you solid, rooted to the earth. You're also strong in the inner thighs and the big toes are pressing down. You might look down and notice there's a natural arch lifted. Especially important for you to get the feeling and sense of this if you're someone who naturally is collapsing here and flat feet, flat arches. This, working with a block, you can do this when you're standing washing your dishes. You can do this if you're, I mean, obviously for exercise, but at different points during the day, if you're just standing somewhere, you can put a block there and stand very consciously with strength. And you're working, creating new muscle memory with these inner thigh muscles to realize, wow, I could really draw in strong, pressing down through my feet, lifting up through my belly, spine is long, pelvis is neutral, and those inner thighs are really connecting. Okay, great. From here, you're going to see about your balance. So you're going to just try to lift up on your tiptoes and come back down. You may need to do this starting at a wall or at a piece of furniture where you can hold on. That's completely fine. The idea of what we're working on now is creating strength in those fine muscles in the feet, in the ankles, in the inner and outer thighs, with this block as a guide, okay? So we want this even, balanced energy in the legs, building strength around that. This is great. Good. You guys are doing great. Same thing with a squat now. You're going to keep the block between your thighs and you're going to bend at the knees and sit your hips back. Squeeze the block, squeeze the block, squeeze the block, squeeze the block. And lift up. So you can do some squats with that block. Good. Again, where the block is keeping us from collapsing in or collapsing out. It's keeping this really good alignment between the hips, the knees, the ankles, the feet, so that we can learn to use our muscles in a very balanced way. And this naturally is going to keep healthy arches. That medial arch between the big toe and the inner heel, the arch between the big toe and the pinky toe edge. Yeah, good. And if you want to get really fancy, you can practice coming up on your toes and then doing the squat from your toes, which my balance is not as good as that this morning, but you can play with that. And you can feel how that's really working all of the feet. My muscles in my feet are shaking. My ankles are shaking. My thighs are so strong right now. And I'm really building strength and awareness to keep engaged. Okay. Now that you've done that with a block, I want you to try that without a block. If you tried it without a block originally, it may have looked like your natural patterns of coming up here would be to collapse or to splay. So now you have a feeling of what it feels like with the block. I want you to do it without, but with the memory of having the block there and what your body was doing. That upright pelvis, the lengthened tailbone, the strong core. Good. So from here, you're just going to take some toe raises up and down. And you're going to build the strength in the feet, the ankles, the inner thighs, the outer thighs. It's all really, really good. Obviously, the core is engaged, but the core is naturally engaged, not like you're gripping from the core. When your feet, knees, all of that is in good alignment, your pelvis is naturally in good alignment, the belly is drawing in and lengthened. So it's a natural engagement. In yoga, we call that Uddiyana Bandha, that is set up automatically as a natural result of the feet and legs engaging properly with the earth and drawing energy upward. Okay, from there, you can take some of those squats. So again, check your feet. And in a squat, normally, you may have a tendency, again, to kind of collapse your knees or to squat where your knees go out. This is, imagine you have the block there and you're really using the strength in the feet. I'll also say that when you're doing a really good squat, this is like an even hip distance squat, all the weight is coming so much back into your heels that your toes could lift up and spread. You're not collapsing in the toes or locking out the toes, right? That would happen if my knees are collapsing. So I'm just going to lean back here in my squat. Yeah, nice and strong. My toes, my feet are working and strengthening here. Okay, great. Let's see what else I can offer you. I know that sounds really basic, those few things, like we're just stretching the feet and massaging the feet and using a block and going up and down. It is basic, but it's about slow and steady practice and you have to kind of unlearn certain patterns and relearn a new pattern. So that's really what this is to heal your feet. There are a lot of other exercises I can teach you. I feel like I want to leave it at that for now. The one thing I will say, I'll show you just two other props you could use. If you have a strap, okay? One thing you could do with a strap to help with your feet and legs is you would take the strap around the foot. Now, you're not taking it around the middle of the foot here. You're taking it around the base of the ball mounds of the toes, okay? And if you have that, you can use that to stretch your foot. You see how I'm stretching? This is an alternate, especially if your knee is not great on that one I was showing you where you're doing the toe stretch, kind of in the toe squat. You could do it this way. That'll stretch the base of the foot. It's going to stretch my calf muscle. What you can also do with this is you can take that leg across the midline of the body. And what you're doing there is stretching all the way into the outer hip. Okay, if that's your area of imbalance where your outer hip and your IT band is really locked up and tight, anytime you go across the midline of the body, you're lengthening into that outer hip. So that can feel really good. Make sure, again, you're not collapsing and crunching the toes. So with the strap as a guide, you can keep stretching and widening across the toes. So that's a really good stretch there. Okay. If your inner thighs are especially tight, you can take the strap in the same hands as the foot, reach it out. Notice how I'm still stretching and flexing through my foot, but I can stretch this inner thigh here. Okay. Good. And you could do that on the other side. One more thing I'll show you is a seated fan pose. Upavishta Konasana in the yogic Sanskrit. So in your fan pose, and it might not look as wide as mine, depending on your flexibility, it might be closer. You might take one at a time. That's all fine. But from here, this is a really nice inner thigh stretch where you would just basically tiptoe your fingers forward, forward, forward. You may not get that far, right? Even here, I can feel that my inner thighs are stretching now. What I want you to notice is that my feet, my toes are still spreading. My feet are still flexed. You can even see how I have an arch. As if I were standing on the ground, for me to lose my arch would look more like my foot collapsing in. But what I'm trying to do is pretend that I'm standing on the floor and my big toes are connected, my heels connected. Even just doing that, I can feel the engagement of my core. Good. And then from here, I'm folding forward in that pose, and that's going to stretch my inner thighs. Good. And again, if I wanted to take that one side at a time, I could, right here, reach, 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 reach. And then I could just relax and stay there for as long as I want. This isn't about folding and touching my toes and pulling myself forward. It's not about the back hunching. It's very much about stretching the calf, stretching the foot, and engaging. You could see how the muscles naturally all engage around the knee. So I'm strengthening here. It seems like, wait, but you're just stretching. it's not the same as strengthening, but it's both because your muscles are working together, right? My quads are engaging and strengthening around my knee in order to stretch my hamstrings and my calf. So it's a multi-purpose kind of pose. And you could do that on the other side. And I'll show you one more little prop that I have. This is um, this is actually Yamuna. Show you that. You could see that body rolling, Amazon.com or any good yogic, fitness store. Um, this can be sometimes painful, but in the best way, right? Okay, so I'll just show you. You can use this for foot massage and to open the foot. So you can do the heel, right? This is me stretching and very, very deep pressured massage. I get to control the intensity and the pressure. You see, I have my back leg on the floor, so I'm not putting my full body weight, but I'm leaning into it. I can also do that arch where that plantar fascia would be. I can do the outer and inner arches. I can also stretch the base right under. Notice how this immediately stretches my toes. I can go here and boom, stretch. I'm learning how to open up these muscles by doing that. And then I can come really on underneath the toes here and wake up all those muscles. So that's another good tool you can use to help you. I hope that this was helpful. There are so many more things you could do in terms of physical fitness, lunges and lots of different other yoga poses as well that would help strengthen all the muscles in the legs. But I think this is a really great place to start for your feet to just develop some, understanding relationship with yourself, your feet, your toes, all those muscles, kind of like nurturing and supporting yourself to create some more balance and strength. All right. I hope that this video is very healing for you. If you want to leave me any feedback or reach out, I'm happy to answer any questions.